Welcome to Still a Black Classic or Nah, the podcast where we investigate the world of Black American classic films to see if they still hold up today. Join our amazing hosts, Christina Richardson, a talented filmmaker who will give you a filmmaker's point of view, Ometu, the CEO of BlakOWND TV, who will let you know if this movie would pass his green light litmus test of today, Natalie Evans, representing Gen Z, who will reveal what the 12 to 27-year-olds think of the film, and Scooter Wilkerson, our resident comedian who will find the funny in every kernel of a film, no matter the genre. Together, they're the film review rat pack that provides every angle that matters with their unique blend of perspectives and plenty of laughs. Every episode, they'll take a beloved, uncontested, certified Black American classic film and put it under the microscope. They'll explore its cultural impact, its relevance today, its jokes, which in today's climate may or may not be politically correct, and determine whether it still deserves the title of classic or not. So grab your popcorn, nachos, or if you're like me, Flamin' Hots with queso, and join Christina, Uzo, Natalie, and Scooter as they answer the ultimate question: is this film still a Black classic or nah?
All right, welcome. This is Still a Black Classic or Nah, okay, where we dissect different films and talk about, is this a Black classic or not, right? To me, what defines a classic is a film that can really withstand the test of time, okay? Everybody has their own opinion, but that's mine. But yeah, I'm Christina. I'm a filmmaker. You guys introduce yourselves.
I'm Scooter Wilkerson. I'm a comedian, part-time bartender. Psych. I just want to say something, AKA.
I'm Natalie, the Fountain of Youth.
Fountain of Youth? What
Yes.
does that make me? I'm Uzo. I am the CEO streamer guy. I guess that's my title.
You say streamer guy?
Streamer guy, yeah. You know, we got a nice mix here. Very opinionated bunch. Usually my opinion is the right opinion. Normally, but I will allow you guys to also share your thoughts, right?
So that we can hear it. Make sure you speak into that mic, though.
I sure will.
That sounded wild light skin. That's all I can say. My opinion is the opinion.
Usually it is. You know, I'm a mom. I'm a filmmaker. Like, you know, my opinion matters. Like, I put art, and Natalie is too. We put art into the world, so, like, my opinion is very strong.
Yeah.
And it's generally, like, really what the world thinks. But
What the
I
world
digress.
needs, even.
Because you a mom.
Speaking of
Yeah.
which,
Yeah.
speaking of what the world needed, and people asserting their opinions, our film today.
Yeah, our film today. So we're going to get into a very, very special film. I'm going to give you a clue, John Singleton, but I'll leave it there. But first, I want to bring up one film that is a newer film that I feel like is going to be a classic.
Oh, God.
You don't have to agree with me, but you probably will. And that film is Bad Boys in the Bad Boys series.
Which one?
All of them.
Oh, well,
okay.
see, yeah, I mean, the first half.
And especially the most recent one, which I loved.
What's the question?
She said that's the new movie that's going to be a
It's going
classic. So I'm
to be a
guessing it's the
classic.
newest
The
one.
Bad
It's going
Boys
to be a
Bad
classic.
Boys
Has
Saga is
to-
going to be a classic. Yes,
Did you say the
absolutely.
classic has to hold up over time?
Yes.
You think Bad Boys 4 is going to hold up over time?
Yes.
You think 1 through 4 holds up?
1 through 4
Including
holds up.
3?
Yes.
Are we judging the franchise or the individual
The
movies?
franchise. I'm judging the franchise, and I feel like each film is a good representation of the franchise. I think they can all stand
Each
alone.
film?
I think, yes, I do.
So, all right, I haven't seen 4. I haven't seen the latest one. But I saw the third one, and I feel like that's enough to argue that franchise is not going to hold up. That third one wasn't that strong. Wasn't that the one where he had the Spanish son that came out of nowhere, and then it was hanging off the dang balcony at the end and doing all the theatrics?
I believe
If they
so.
want to be a Fast and Furious,
3
they
is
can.
very forgettable.
Yeah.
3
If
is
they
very
want to be a
forgettable.
Fast and
I have great respect for the
Alright.
Fast and Furious franchise, so let's just put that out there right now. Now that holds up.
Has a classic came out of Fast and Furious? Like,
It's
there one that's
the
like,
first
that's a-
one.
Yeah.
So
Paul Walker.
And Tokyo Drift, it didn't need to make sense.
Classic.
They caught it back
Yo,
on the back end.
entertaining.
How are we defining classic?
Let's get back to Bad Boys. We're
Alright.
talking about Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Okay, Bad Boys 1 is pretty good.
That's a
Bad
classic.
That's a classic.
classic movie.
Bad Boys 1 is classic, even though we don't know the name of the villain. We have no clue what that villain name is.
that helps.
He said,
Yeah.
shoot me. shoot me.
It's a classic action movie.
Typical 90s movie. We don't need names, just random bad guy.
Bad
That's
Boys
it.
2 is solid. Solid. Johnny Tapia is a good. What's his name? Is his name Johnny Tapia? That was his name.
That's the one with
villain.
Gab, right?
I liked them. I liked the villain in 2.
Okay.
The
Very
villain in
solid.
2 was
Very
good.
solid.
When they killed the guy and he said, "Hey, what happened to Orlando? Oh, he jumped in the water and died, Mom. He shot himself. Oh, send a letter to his mother."
Oh, I do remember him.
It was pretty solid. But when we get to 2 was solid.
Very.
I don't know if we needed Gabrielle Union in it. I don't know if we needed.
Don't do that.
You never not
we
need
did
Gabrielle.
need
It
that.
show how trash Mike Lowry is as a character. Like Mike Lowry really terrible is a terrible human being. We not gonna address that.
He had issues.
He saves lives.
Issues.
Mike Lowry in himself shows why Will Smith smacked Chris Rock. He got trapped into that character and just was there. Mike Lowry's a terrible human being.
It's not that bad.
Martin was in a gunfight with 3 dudes in part 1, fighting all of them at one time like he was a Power Ranger, and he getting a lap dance. He just
That was
left him.
funny.
that
That was
research?
funny.
That was
That was
funny.
part of the classicness of it all.
It's a classic. 2 classic characters.
Whoa.
I just feel like that movie, you can just watch it. You know, I like feel-good movies. I like movies that you can just watch that don't really,
Yeah, just the
leave
first
too
2.
much residue, don't really break your heart. I love movies
Mike
like
Lowry
that. And I
made you
think
feel good.
it made
He's
me laugh.
fine.
And
He's terrible.
anything that can make me laugh makes me happy.
I'm gonna say the first one was a classic. I haven't seen the 4th, so I can't judge it. But it's hard for me to say the whole franchise.
Yeah.
You can't have a whole franchise be a classic. Like that's
not for Fast and
that's
Furious.
very hard to do. Like that's pretty much the Godfather.
This
That's
isn't the
it.
MCU. This isn't the MCU.
See, and even that.
Right, even that.
Hey,
Hold
man,
up, is it a
at the
franchise?
end game, it get kind of bad. Is
there a franchise that holds up?
1, 2, 3. No, there's no classic that holds up
well,
everyone.
we can all agree that Bad Boys 1 is a classic and
Yeah.
will be
Yes.
considered a classic, just like the movie that we're about to talk about now. Let's talk about Boyz N the Hood. Okay, John Singleton, Boyz N the Hood, phenomenal filmmaker, John Singleton, R.I.P. Boyz N the Hood, starring Cuba Gooding Jr., Lawrence Fishburne, Angela Bassett, Nia Long was in that movie, Morris Chestnut. Who am I missing? Like that
Regina
movie,
King.
Regina King.
John Coltrane.
That movie launched a lot of those careers.
It's crazy seeing Angela Bassett that young. That's
Isn't
crazy.
it?
It launched
It
a
is.
lot of
That
careers.
is
Really
crazy
did.
to me.
And if you don't know, what? How did I just go blank like that? Boyz N the Hood is basically a coming of age film set in the hood, okay? And it's basically about a kid that went to go live with his father, and he had to deal with the perils of what it's like to live in the hood. And we got to see a real snapshot of what that's like. I'm a little biased because I grew up in South Central, so a lot of that stuff resonated with me. But I want to know from you all, do you think Boyz N the Hood, and let me know on your boards, is Boyz N the Hood still a black classic or nah?
So we're just gonna write this down. Should we be silent? Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I'll save my
We probably
opinion.
I'm
don't
not
have
gonna
the
give up my
copyright.
I'm not gonna give up my answer. I'm just saying I don't know if it's standing the test of time because they don't got no cell phones in it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, Lord.
I ain't seen one cell phone.
just
in
say
Boyz
your
N the Hood.
answer and then
they
we
had
will-
the big cell phones in New York. Well, I knew Jack City had the big cell phones.
It
but
wasn't
in
about
Boyz N
the
Hood,
cell
they ain't had a
phones.
big
It
cell
wasn't
phone.
about the phones.
I mean,
it wasn't about
saying.
technology.
Listen, I can't wait to get into this.
I'm just saying.
Also, I don't think we have the copyright to
I'm
that
crying.
Jeopardy music, so don't
Put a remix on. Dun, dun,
know,
dun,
be
dun,
careful.
dun. Change it up a
I
little.
know a guy. I have
Can we?
a great composer who can give us a nice little
Are
jingle.
you not writing? Are you
Hold
writing?
on.
I'm gonna save my opinion.
Hold
'Cause
on.
So then you can
I'm
copy.
trying to-
ours.
my
Right.
opinion is gonna be
I
the
know.
opinion of the
I feel like
the
you're
hour.
gonna copy my answer, but that's all right.
Let's see. All right, how long does it take to write SAP?
know.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm
It's
ready.
still okay,
I'm
and
done. I'm
Natalie.
ready.
Okay, she is still
Okay.
a black classic, but
But-
I have notes.
Hold
That's
that
not the
thought.
game.
Let's see
I
yours.
have notes.
She didn't play the game right.
Before you even.
But that's not a option. She wrote but.
Oh no. She's a gen.
We'll see.
You know her
So,
generation.
Yes, we keep our
It's always
options
ish.
open.
Her
Yes.
generation, they like to
Yes.
just, you
A
know,
caveat.
dance. They like to crip walk on the line, like y'all love
See,
to do.
I don't have the ankles for that, but
Crip walk, I was
No
just
ankle
saying.
flexibility.
No,
that's not good at your
I
young
don't
age.
feel like it's appropriate for me to learn.
And what do you think?
My daughter can crip. Well, it's a problem that you can't.
That's so cute.
We call
Still
it
a black
baby
classic
cuz.
for sure. For sure.
right.
I'm gonna tell y'all why you're wrong.
Okay, and what do you think?
Is it still a black classic? Maybe.
Let's see the board.
Maybe
the
yes,
board.
maybe. Oh, put maybe.
Maybe.
Yes, it is. Okay.
No, that's not how this goes.
Yes, it is.
Y'all aren't playing. Y'all aren't playing the game
not how this
correctly.
goes.
Yes, it is.
Let's
All
hear
right,
the
let's get
notes.
into it because
All right,
I
then.
gotta hear these maybes. Let's start with you.
Okay, it's a black classic, but what did y'all learn from this? What did y'all learn from this film?
Excuse me?
No, because I feel like I'm seeing a lot of doughboys and Chris's running around. What did y'all learn from the protagonist? This classic
when
black
you say
film.
y'all, you are talking to.
I'm talking to the generation who looked at this as youth.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Men. It sounds like you're talking to the men. I just want to be sure.
What was wrong with the women in the film?
Well, no, you said
was
what
some
did
pretty
y'all
bad
learn
women
from
in
it?
there.
You said what did y'all learn
all right, I
from
will
it?
say the mom. I was like, oh my gosh, it's giving Mrs. Robinson. Why is she talking to that little boy like he's grown, talking about you look just like your father? And she like licked her lip. I was like, oh my god.
The mom was definitely going to get
That
the
was
yams
crazy.
to Trey. But that happens. I had that happen to me in the hood, and my mom threatened the woman and all that. Like I had that happen to me.
Explain your answer. Why
you
the
see-
maybe?
Because there was no rap in there. How we got a movie
Oh,
with
Lord.
like 5 rappers in there, and I don't hear one rap song.
They
Like
didn't do
that's-
anything for the soundtrack?
No, they weren't allowed to back then, though, I could believe. Well, you the filmmaker, you know more about his historical soundtracks than me.
I am not. I am a filmmaker, but not
Yes.
the level of
I'm
filmmaker.
from-
And that's not my role here today. But are we on me? Because
Yes,
I need some room to breathe.
please help me.
No,
I need some
room.
room to breathe. Can I breathe?
Please,
Yeah.
because
Give me a
I'm really,
moment here.
I just want to say I'm really offended by what I
Hold on.
heard. But let's.
Hold on,
Yeah, I'm offended as well.
Can I
No,
say
I
one
said
more thing?
you said I could breathe.
Good,
You
good.
hold
Let me
hold that
Go on,
thought.
Pastor.
Let me work.
Take your time,
Okay.
Pastor.
When it comes to Boyz N the Hood, they don't make movies like this anymore.
Yes,
y'all.
they do.
Let 'em cook.
They don't.
All right.
They don't make movies like this anymore. This movie is special. Okay, it is as special today as it was in 1991. This movie makes everybody understand, cope, and relate with what was going on in the inner city at that time. You cannot use just the perspective of today. You have to consider where it came from. I was 10 when I first watched
10?
this movie. Yeah, I was 10
Really?
when I first watched it.
10?
Yeah, it came out in 91. I was a
You were
little too
10
young.
in 1991?
No, I said when I watched
Let's
it.
not
I was too
dwell
young.
on the minute
Let me
details.
go. Let me
Continue.
go. Let me
I
go.
see what she's trying to do. I got
Short
you.
trying to
attention
finesse.
spans from Gen Z. This is the problem. This is not a TikTok.
Distracted
This is
by
not
the
this is not a
age.
TikTok.
Just saying.
So I
I'm
was
the
10
young
when I
one.
first watched the movie.
Yeah.
That was well after it came out. It was probably on Showtime. Parents was not home. It was one of the few months we actually had the cable turned on, and I saw it. You know, the first 30 minutes. You
Once
think
you're like 40,
you think you watching a kids movie. I'm like, they're walking through the inner city. It's kids doing kids things. I could relate to this. The push and pull to be in the inner city where I was for a little bit during my time growing up. And I appreciated this. Like I was like, okay, I'm ready for this. I was locked in. I was built in. I was on these characters, these young characters. But then they fast forward 7 years. And I'm like, okay, let's see where we're at. We're still in the inner city. Trey is doing something with his life. Ricky, he's staying out of trouble. Doughboy is doing what Doughboy does. And then I'm looking at this like, hey, you seeing this dichotomy between Ricky and Trey and Doughboy and saying, all right, hey, I've got options. Now, not that I was personally, wrapped up in this world, but I knew people who were. And I think there was a young generation of black men and boys who looked to this movie and saw options. Like, that's what this movie was about. Because, again, you have to come at it from the perspective of this was the 90s. Gangs and stuff were really prominent and not really known to the entire culture. And people did not always see a way out. So it was a very interesting time. It was a few months after the Rodney King beating, too. So there's a lot of context that goes into this movie. And so people could relate to this. And that will always make it a classic because I think there was a young generation of black men and boys, particularly, other people included as well, but particularly those groups that looked at this movie and saw something different for themselves and saw the world to some degree for what it was. And so for me, with all of that and what it explored around education, the inner city, gentrification, parenting, we're not listening to him right now. Lawrence Fishburne was dropping dimes all over the entire movie. You had to respect it for. And the cast, you mentioned the cast. Cuba, Angela, you had Nia, Regina,
Yeah.
Cube.
Yeah.
The movie was out there, but for the rest of y'all, if you don't think this movie was a classic, you are no better than that fool who shot Ricky in the movie. So I need y'all to explain yourselves. Please.
I love that.
How did we get here?
Please, that's how we got here.
I'm gonna start off with an amazing quote. One of the dozens of quotes, quotable moments from the movie. This is from Ice Cube. Either they don't know, don't show, or don't care about what's going on in the hood. All right? I'm going to just start there. As a filmmaker who was born and raised in South Central LA, okay? Migrated to New York a little bit later, but I grew up on Normandy and 87th in these neighborhoods. And when I tell you, this is literally what life was like in the 90s. This is one of the most relatable films that I've ever seen. They don't make films like this anymore.
Don't make
Can
them
we just
like this.
can I just touch on the themes in the movie? Let me just touch on some of the themes in this movie if you haven't seen it.
To say they don't make anything like that.
They're not even
They
allowed
don't.
to make
think
movies
that's
like
They're not
that
even allowed.
anymore.
Let me touch on the theme. There's fatherhood. There's healthy co-parenting. Okay? There's brotherhood. There's friendship.
Black fatherhood, black co-parenting, black friendship.
Okay? These are things that you don't see. We want to talk. Yeah, we know.
See that though?
No, we do not. Not in a
see
realistic
that? I feel
way.
Like that's kinda,
Can we?
This film. Let me just say,
Let
this
the
film.
host. This is her show.
This is my shit. This is I brought.
Well, wait a
I
minute.
brought y'all here.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Hey, you just got here, literally. Wait
Listen,
a second.
no.
Wait a second.
Listen. I mean, realistic, but it's realistic to you. What? Are there other things that are out there that are realistic?
No, I have
So
to
you're
say.
saying he didn't do it twice with Snowfall? That
He
wasn't
did it in a
also
different
accurate?
way. That's a show.
I'm not saying Snowfall is a classic. We're talking about Boyz N the Hood.
We are
But do
talking
you
the
think that it's
original.
an accurate representation of the same kind of environment?
But let me finish.
Let me out.
Let me finish, and then it's on you.
Let me out,
Okay.
no.
Let me finish.
Don't let me out.
Friendship. The film. The reason why this film was so important is because you can play this film today, and you will still have an entire generation of teens and young people that can relate to exactly what's going on. Peer pressure, even the fact about him lying about his virginity and trying to sleep with Nia Long's character, and the fact that his friends were gangbangers and he was adjacent, and he had such a good father that instilled all these things in him that it was able to save him in the final hour where his life could have been taken in a very dangerous situation. There's so many situations that small little nuggets of wisdom in this film. It's important, and it's important for people to watch this film.
Okay, this was like Eazy-E said in the movie Straight Outta Compton. It's an after school special, but I love after school specials. So
Yes.
I understand. We become to movies and film and stuff like that. Do we become emotionally attached? Yes, we're emotionally attached to Boyz N the Hood. Is it a classic? We not going to hold. First and foremost, the character development is very, 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 very minuscule. Very minuscule
that's
to
not
me.
Even, that's
to
not
me.
even
First of all,
accurate.
Speak on it.
What do you mean?
Doughboy should have been the football. Doughboy should have been the football player. We don't know what the mom was doing. We don't know if she was on crack, coke. We don't know what she was doing out on the streets. We just know she was tripping. She might have been a drunk. We had no idea what she was doing.
We did have an idea.
Why did Ricky?
It was one of those things you
I got
just
another
said.
question for y'all. You from West Coast? Why did Ricky girlfriend, his baby mama, have a UNLV shirt on when the USC person came there? I want to know that. First and foremost, that's the ops. You can't have University of Las Vegas on when the USC person is coming there.
I'm taking that back.
That's another thing. There was so many little minuscule details we are talking about. There's too many little
What
details.
about the bigger
I just
picture?
felt like y'all see, and that's what I'm talking about, the bigger picture. Y'all were watching, but were y'all listening? What changed? What do you mean they see options? Y'all out here doing the same thing. Look at like an NBA young boy or like some of these young guys out here. And you saying that they're gonna watch Boyz N the Hood and be like, I feel changed.
I got a Today classic that's better than that. That's better than Boyz N the Hood. Dope is better than Boyz N the Hood. I'll take Dope over.
It's not my favorite movie.
I like Dope
over Boyz N the Hood right now.
Isn't Dope the one where they're in California and
they
on the
sold the
bikes
Bitcoin and they
doing
had to sell the drugs and they was navigating the same perils as Boyz N the Hood, but they just stayed within the nerd culture, the kids, and the high school, and they developed each of one of those characters. Like they show a biographical of the girl, and I just would have wanted to see more. Like why Doughboy didn't play football? Why he ain't play? Why Ricky only play football? Why Doughboy ain't play football? Just because he wants to steal snacks and he get 5 years?
You're gonna piss me off.
I'm crying.
Let me please don't
No,
get pissed.
because
Please.
the mom was neglectful to him and always treated him away from the time he was a child, which is the whole reason why he was out
that
there
arc
anyway.
was clearly established.
But I do think that Doughboy probably has the strongest. I thought he was the most interesting character because at least he was learning sort of something. Like when we start, like he's coming home and he's trying to be different and like he's still doing gangbang and stuff, but there's like there's potential. Like I do
It was
agree.
potential in Doughboy. Doughboy died.
He saw more.
Doughboy died at the end of the movie. You know that?
I don't know if there was
Listen,
potential. I think the great thing about the characters was that, and about the movie in general, is that the characters didn't have an arc. They didn't change. Trey was on the straight and narrow from the beginning. Doughboy was off the beaten path from the beginning. Ricky was always in the middle. They didn't change. And that's the realism of the movie that I loved. He didn't say, we got to change these characters. They're on their paths. Things will get in the way. But ultimately, you could have guessed where those three characters were going from the beginning of the movie. And that was the realism of it. And that's what people appreciated about it, because he didn't try to make this amazing, dramatic thing. These people are who they are. And this is what happens when you're in this environment and you don't feel like you have options.
You got to bring back director's cuts.
He didn't even name the villains. Like, the guy who shot Ricky in the back, you know his name in here is called Knucklehead.
Isn't he the same guy from the beginning?
Knucklehead number 2. To be specific.
Like, terrible character development.
I feel like you two.
He didn't have a name.
I feel like you two on this side of the table, you guys are being disrespectful.
Not you segregating the table.
John Singleton.
Yeah.
You want to know why?
Can
I just say something that's just really... John Singleton wrote this film and told this story from his own experiences, from the experiences of his peers. You can't discredit... No, he did.
Wasn't he going to Ice Cube for everything? Because he told him, he was like, I wasn't in the streets like that.
But even if he did,
he wrote this well before Ice Cube.
It comes from a real place, is what I'm saying. And you guys are, I feel like y'all are judging him.
I'm not
because
judging
you're judging
him.
His experiences. This is what he put on film.
I'm not judging his experiences. I'm saying, as audience members, as y'all who grew up with this film, what did you learn? What has changed?
It doesn't need
People always talk about Boyz N the Hood, but it's like, when you think about the people who be talking about this movie.
What do you mean? What
did you learn? What did you think the takeaway is? Because you said that he presented these different, paths, right, that exist for these people who live in these environments, live in these circumstances, and it kind of runs the gambit. Like, Trey's on the straight and narrow. Somebody from that neighborhood, you would think that they wouldn't be, but then again, he's not really from there because he was raised by his mother, and then he came there. But then Ricky is also from there, and he's not immediately a gangbanger. Like, it runs the gambit, but I just don't understand. I feel like it's not... I don't feel like it's taken as seriously as it should be. I don't think it's as impactful as it could have been.
And see, that's where I think I just don't know how you can say that, because you can. I feel like you can.
I don't blame John for that. I blame the audience.
Well, you should blame John. He's the director.
I'm not gonna blame him.
Of course, he wrote it. He directed it.
Yeah, he did a great job. It's a great film.
Movie. But you're saying it lacks all these things. That's
feel like some of the stuff he was trying to get across went over people's heads.
I don't think so.
I think first and foremost, when the main thing out of it is that, yes, these people had options. People made choices throughout that movie that took them where they are. And I think that's a big part of what you can learn from the movie, what people took away from the movie. But along that, like I said, they were dropping educational dimes throughout it. You could see how they talked about parenting. Like, literally the parents had conversations about parenting. You could see Lawrence Fishburne having these conversations with his kid. You could see him bring up the idea of gentrification. That was literally a learning moment. They talked about the inner city and all of that. So, like, I don't know. There were many things that people could learn from this movie.
But did they learn?
But it's not even.
Who is they?
I think so. I think we're missing the purpose.
What do people learn from the Little Mermaid?
I think we're missing the purpose of a film in general here.
I think in cinema we regress.
Sometimes it's as important as just seeing yourself, seeing representation. Imagine how many thousands of young men were able to see themselves and see their struggles.
They did, and they all turned to Doughboy. That's what happened.
No, it didn't all turn into Doughboy.
It inspires us to turn into Doughboy. We all thought Doughboy was the coolest character.
It didn't inspire me to do that. It inspired
I wanted to be Doughboy.
A lot of people.
Where did y'all grow up?
Not to do that.
Did you grow up in the hood? Because I did. I grew up in South Central. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the middle of North Philly, and I grew up in Mount Airy, in the biggest drug block in Mount Airy.
And so growing up in South Central, in a 2-parent household, I relate to the main character because I was on the street. They had drive-bys on my block. we used to play a game called Drive By, and if a black car, we pick a color of a car, whatever color comes by, you gotta say Drive By, and then you gotta hide because that was life,
we
right?
used to call our corner block West Coast Avenue.
Okay, well, I actually lived in the West Coast
Drive.
and I lived in South
West
Central.
Coast Drive.
So with that, being somebody that actually lived on these neighborhoods, lived on these types of blocks, understanding how important the father figure is in the home, because those other kids probably didn't have fathers.
First time that's been emphasized.
They didn't call Furious Star. They run around calling him Furious. They didn't call him Mr. Furious.
That's been emphasized.
It was one of the first times, and it was certainly one of the first times on a major motion picture. So
$5 million budget at that
listen,
time.
I think
Really?
this. I was told I'm supposed to bring in the business context of all of this. So allow me again, if you don't mind, I'll just cook a little bit here. But no, this movie was important because of what it set up. So you mentioned the careers that it set up. So obviously it set up John Singleton's career. This was Nia Long's first big picture. This was Angela Bassett had been working in TV for a long time. Couldn't get a movie role. She was in it. Obviously this was big for Cube.
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Cuba Gooding Jr. This set him off. Regina, she had been in 227. She got nothing until this right here. Like, this set off major careers in Hollywood, Black Hollywood in particular. Then let's talk about what happened with the actual development of the movie. This movie probably would not have been made without Do the Right Thing, which came out of Columbia Pictures. They were obviously looking for another inner city black story because of the success of Do the Right Thing. John Singleton comes out of nowhere with this amazing script that they love. So they greenlight that only because they just had the success with Spike. And then this movie then sets off a string of movies by Columbia Pictures and others that include Juice, South Central, Menace to Society, Above the Rim, Clockers, Dead Presidents, and Set It Off. Woo. So without this movie, and obviously Do the Right Thing, a lot of these other classic movies, although some you guys probably don't think all those are classics, and maybe not all of them, but most of them, those movies don't happen. So just because of its importance in black cinema, period, it is a classic alone because it allowed other classics to be born.
Okay. And I can say that, and everything you just said, those 5 movies you said outside of maybe Clockers are all better than Boyz N the Hood.
Oh, no.
So I mean,
that's not what I was gonna say.
All the movies better. Juice better than
Juice is not better than
Boyz
Boyz N the Hood.
Stop.
It's not. But I would say,
pop performance in Juice isn't better than Cuba's.
That's
and
separate. We're talking about performance.
It's great, but what kind of circumstances?
GQ running around DJing
just killing
better than Dope Boy.
First of all, that movie makes me so mad because they picked all these pretty people and just started killing them off so fast. Couldn't even enjoy seeing their lovely faces on screen. I mean, he was fine. It was terrible. But the thing about, you know what I would say? You know what that makes me want to ask, because that's interesting, but it's like, is that the reason why you think now black audiences are kind of like, oh, we don't want to see any more of these kind of stories because we've always seen these stories? Do you think that because I think that Boyz N the Hood in that list is the best thing in that list. Like, it stands out and it certainly should be regarded well, but do you think that also kind of kicked off an opportunity for those kind of stories to be exploited in a not good way, where they start to glorify, you know, some of these roles instead of showing them in a way that's more
I think the
thoughtful. I think it's the most thoughtful representation of these things, but I think know.
Again, there's much needed context, because it's not like people were making Oscar-worthy movies with Oscar-worthy budgets about the inner city. Like, this was new. This was
Oscar
groundbreaking.
Nominated.
It was nominated for directing and writing. It was nominated. Probably should have won. Yeah.
It wasn't very
groundbreaking.
It wasn't Best Picture.
But this groundbreaking at the time.
It wasn't nominated. It wasn't nominated for Best Picture.
It was just Best Director and
screenplay. Hold on, I'm trying to answer her question. So the context that, you know, we've seen so much of these so-called black trauma stories since then that I don't think we can go back and say, that was just another one. Like, it was an originator in that era. It was needed. People hadn't seen it, including black people who weren't living in that. So
can we say that it regressed after that point?
That the movie regressed?
No, that genre regressed.
I don't necessarily agree with the narrative that we should get rid of these black trauma stories.
I don't think we should get rid of black trauma stories, but I think some of them are not well written, not well done, have terrible character development, and don't add anything.
And this was not that.
This is not that.
But there were bad movies across genres. I don't know that this one has necessarily gotten worse than anything. I think like with all things in this age, we have a lot of great stuff and we have a lot of bad stuff because there's so much stuff created today. So I don't know if the whole genre has dissipated, but I think our tolerance for this stuff and for a movie like that doesn't exist anymore. And that's why it's a classic, because you can't make that same movie today.
So it's a classic because that's the only one that stands out after all of that.
And because it won't be duplicated. It hasn't been.
No, it clearly can't be. I mean, everybody been trying ever since, it seems.
But when I think about the whole black trauma experience that people are tired of, this does not come to mind.
It doesn't.
And I say because this was so well done. It was so authentic.
Yeah.
And I can speak on that because this is where I come from. So like just even the detail of the helicopters always flying around and the details of the sirens and all the black cop, the racist black cop, right? Like there are so many details in this movie where you just feel seen. And also if I was coming from that neighborhood, watching this as a young man, I can imagine like you see yourself and you can see literally what, if I take this path, this can happen. If I take this path, this can happen. That you asked us, what did we learn from it? But like, you can learn so much because you're seeing yourself and you get to almost see like different players, right? Like different options. I
learned to be dope boy.
Well, that's good.
No,
Congratulations for you.
But you did.
I did.
You did, as far as I know.
And I didn't choose that path.
And look where you are right
He was
now.
the more popular character.
What's that mean? You running checks on people?
Well, no, he gave us 2 careers, and that wasn't one of them. So I'm assuming he wasn't lying.
None of us wanted to be Ricky. I tell you that.
But
yes,
okay, well,
people
nobody
did want to
wants
be Ricky.
None of us.
Ricky was the football star.
Ricky was a football star with a baby at 16.
I was gonna say because I was like, not with a child. You was never. Come on, be serious.
He was a football player. He was a talent. It was a talent.
Because when they fast forward and I saw he had a baby, I was like, oh damn, I guess he's not gonna play football.
Well, he
can't
was.
say that. There are plenty of NBA players that.
Let's not even get into that.
Well, I'm just saying, plenty of NBA players that had kids in high school.
Those baby mamas be triple their age.
That's
so
not
that's
plenty.
not even
It's
the
a
same
few.
thing.
No, that's not uniform.
It's not a lot. Yeah, it's not uniform.
I have a question for you though.
There are many.
I have a question for Uzo. So, as an executive, I'm gonna interject.
Well, I'm sorry.
As an executive, would you greenlight this script if it came across your table today?
Oh.
This exact script, no.
Yeah.
Because and like obviously I'm ignoring that it's existed in the past, but I would say no. The trope has been overdone. Like, killing in the streets. Like, again, that's why we have to go back. Like, this was one of the original stories. So to come back and keep telling that same story over and over again, obviously we can't do that. So I would not greenlight it for that reason, because I think it is overdone. I also think audiences aren't receptive of that today anymore. Like, you see, anytime there's a black quote unquote trauma movie, there's a ton of backlash, and especially if it's from Lena Waithe. And so a lot of people don't want to see it. And so I wouldn't do it for those 2 reasons combined.
Doesn't she just do the one thing?
But if somebody could do something different, explore that genre a little bit more, I would love to see something like it.
I think it'd have to really be representative of what's happening now, which I think is a totally different animal. I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff. Like, there's always, like you said, like, there's always going to be peer pressure. Gentrification is clearly still an issue and becoming a more widespread issue. But there'd have to be some sort of... Because I feel like... It's a problem of idols, I think, now. I think before, in that time period, it was more a matter of circumstance where you ended up in these situations, because it was just the environment that you came from and the options that you felt like you had. Or like Doughboy, who never had a supportive parent. Saw one. His brother had a supportive parent, but he never had one. But I think now it's like there's a lot of imitation game going on with role models and just like celebrity and a lot of those things. And I think it's more aspirational, like he was saying. People are aspiring to be the Doughboys instead of seeing like the reality of what it means to actually like live that life. Like,
and because of that, I actually want to restate my answer, because one, I feel like Dope was a good modern. I'm not, regardless of where the movie stands. I just think it was a good modernization of life in the inner city. It was a good movie. It definitely wasn't a bad movie. And so I think that was a good but then I would also say, when you think about what's going on Tubi, there is a large audience of people that still want to see that type of movie. So I will change my answer slightly and say I would consider it. Again, it has to be slightly different. Well, there is an audience for it. Now, I want to make it quality. I don't want to make a Tubi quality movie.
Thinking like white people can't do this. So I think it's also kind of weirdly personal in a way. I think that's why black people love kind of seeing these movies because it is a specific experience to us in that way. But then it made me think of the movie Four Brothers with Mark Wahlberg.
I got something to say.
I like that. What do you have to say?
I got something to say. It would have been a classic if Jerry Heller would have been involved. You involved Jerry Heller, he got all the NWA tracks. We'd have been at the had Boyz N the Hood. Come on, when they shot the gunshots, they'd be like, "Hey yo, Dre, tell them what," and then it'd been classic then.
Who is Jerry Heller?
Because it came on. Just the sound.
Because it was cinematic. It was cinematic.
It's a film. It needs a score.
They had some overly dramatic music in there. That was for sure.
But I loved it.
But they were on a budget. They were on a budget.
They didn't, and that's why I said
they dragged that young man's body and let him bleed out across the neighborhood. What did you want them to play? You know, there's something to be said. We need to tell people, PSA, stop moving the body when something happened. You shaking out all the life out of him. Damn, maybe he could have had a chance. Shit, let him just breathe.
It was time for Ricky to go, man.
No,
he was gonna lose his spleen.
He was the finest one. I'm tired of movies in the 90s doing that. 90s movies always kill off the finest looking person. What the hell did you bring Morris Chestnut up here? And then we fast forward. I'm like, first of all these kids is the same shade. So I don't know who's going to end up being who. Which one of y'all going to end up being Cuba?
I was rewatching. I was like, who again?
I know
that was something that
y'all made that clear. Yeah. But I was like, Cuba, I thought this was going to be a Morris Chestnut flick.
I'm going to be real with y'all. If Furious wasn't involved, Trey would have been Doughboy, and Doughboy might have been Trey.
And that's the point of the whole thing that we're trying to say.
Trey had the strongest personality as a kid.
He got mellowed out.
And he was the one who was like the strong, like he was checking everybody.
But he lived.
Doughboy was the one who had. And,
but he had a bad father. He had a father that wasn't around.
He had a great dad. His dad was involved. It was the emotional connections of the movie does make it a classic. Do things you see in it and all that stuff like that can make it a classic. But as a movie, standing by itself, I'll take Menace to Society. I'll take Juice.
All right,
I'll take a lot of movies that are sonically better,
let's do the final verdict.
Juice is more fun to watch.
You really think Juice is better than Boyz N the Hood?
The acting in Menace to Society.
You can't go nowhere and see it without seeing the Juice monologue.
But the thing about Juice is it's not my fault.
Get the wind beneath your back, partner.
I don't hear that.
Before we move on to Juice, I would like for everybody to just, now that we've discussed it, and now that we all have said and you guys have heard my correct opinion, I would like to know if you really think if your answer has changed or is it the same, and I'm ready to reveal mine.
So we gotta write it again?
I mean, if your answer hasn't changed.
Do you still have ink in yours? You've written a lot already today.
It's unlimited marker.
I mean,
and it's black. That's so cool.
John Singleton is not to be played with, very truthfully, because the landscape right now of who
what's
gets
John
to
Singleton's
make stuff.
second movie? What movie did he make after this? I got a question. You know better than me, so I don't know. What movie did he make after this?
The very next one? I'm not sure.
Because I don't know does he have two?
Can we just talk about like his? Don't do that to John Singleton.
I'm not saying he's a great director. Just because you don't make a classic, anything don't make you not really good at what you do. Classics are very hard to make. So when we put things on things as a classic.
But we're not. I mean, we're not debating whether or not he's a good director. We're talking about is he great?
Which is not debatable.
Not too much on John Singleton.
I was about to say it's not really debatable to say if he's a good director. I mean, that's a lot of fresh.
I'm ready for mine.
Faces.
Give
Duh.
me some
Are you?
Duh. Argue with your mom.
My mom didn't see this.
I'm just writing still a black classic. Of course, it's a classic.
My
mind won't be changed. And see, you went deaf. So you changed it up a little bit.
Yes.
I always
you didn't play the game correctly yet.
Because she heard our opinions, we were able to,
old people are always trying to convince you that they're right.
She called me old again.
I tracked it. You should have never told me you was 10 when you watched it. I'm gonna know forever.
I was like 7.
I was like 10 in 1991.
I was 1.
2001.
I wasn't 7 when I watched it. I was probably about 10.
Oh my gosh, you guys were alive for like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
What was war like?
Okay,
you know what?
I don't know.
You tell me. You lived through 9/11, right? And that whole thing.
There's a few places you can fly to right now.
Wait. You did live through 9/11, right?
Yeah, I was alive.
You're drafting age, right? I think.
No.
Oh, not that young.
Missed that.
Still not for me. No.
You want to write a paragraph?
Is it
Just
still
give
a
us
black?
the answer.
Is it still, no, the question was, nobody answered the question. Nobody said if it was a black classic. Is it still a black classic?
Rap
No,
and not
no, it's
enough
not enough rap
violence?
and not enough violence. I need more killing. I need more bodies. I need more rap beats. I need a lot more stuff.
I think
for
you're missing the whole.
As you can
we need it
see,
redone.
This
How
is what I
about-
was
how about
talking
y'all
about when I
remaster
said who learned from this.
He did not. I agree with
Who?
you. I
See,
agree
you
with
see the lack of
I agree
impact
with
I'm
learned-
talking
you
about.
know what I learned from?
More
You can't-
violence. That's why you think Juice is a classic. His friend is a psychopath. That's the story.
Juice was not a good film.
I learned from
You
Minister
can't
Juice
save
was
all the
not
people.
a good
You
film.
can't save all of them.
Juice was not a good film.
Hey, it's
Juice,
my
I mean,
opinion.
Juice is a fun watch.
It's time to wrap it up. I've had
All
enough
right.
of you guys. Okay, I just want to say thank you for this conversation. I
You looked
kind
away
of
when you
enjoy
said thank you.
because I'm talking to the person
Yes.
with the sense. Okay,
Yes, you're
thank
welcome.
you. We had a
Thank
great
you.
discussion. It's a majority vote.
Yeah.
Boyz N the Hood is
No, it's not a majority.
It is.
Boyz
That's how
N
the
the
game
Hood.
works.
Boyz N the
a
Hood
black
is
classic.
definitely a black classic. R.I.P. John
Now, is
Singleton.
there some misogynoir involved? I mean,
R.I.P.
of course,
John
I
Singleton.
co-sign it all. I'm
Thank
just
you,
saying.
John Singleton, for your art
Fair,
and for.
fair.
Can I give a shout out to John Singleton?
It was
Yes,
the night. It was the
again.
90s.
Excuse me. Thank you, John Singleton, for putting your heart and soul into this film and for inspiring a generation of filmmakers like myself to tell their story. I would never discredit any creator's story. This was his experience. This was his story, and he did an amazing job with the detail and the different themes and touching on different subjects that we need to see. Shout out to John Singleton.
Yeah.
And yes, Boyz N the Hood is still a black classic.
I'm not from Compton. I'm not from Rosecrans. I'm not from none of them blocks like that.
I thought it was
so
Juice.
I just didn't feel the same way that everybody else felt about it. I think it's good. Is
Yes.
it good?
You're
from the hood,
Am I
though.
going to say I'm from the hood?
We
We had
estab-
drive-bys. We had dirty
We
cops.
established
not.
you are wrong.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
fine. It's fine. But
All right.
is it good?
That's a wrap.
Wait,
Thank you for
wrap it
watching
up.
this
Is
episode.
it good? Yeah.
Thank you for watching
Is
this
it
episode.
good? Yeah, classic.
Can I do the outro? Thank you for another
Edit
great
that
episode.
out. Edit that last part out.
Thank you for another great episode of Still a Black Classic or Nah. All right? We signing out.
Yeah. Thank you. Please vote.
Thanks for tuning in to Still a Black Classic or Nah. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into today's film. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us to keep bringing you the best content. Join the conversation on social media and let us know your thoughts. Are there any films you want us to revisit? If so, hit us up on social media. You can find us on Instagram or LinkedIn at BlakOWND Productions. Special thanks to our amazing hosts, Christina Richardson, Ometu, Natalie Evans, and Scooter Wilkerson. And of course, thanks to you, our listeners, for joining us each week. Until next time, keep watching those classics and asking yourself, is this still a black classic or nah?